The balance of it that, let's see, where were we? That a cubit and a half, the height thereof, we are incomplete in our ability to learn and ascend to the throne of Yehovah Eloheinu. We can't learn in a strictly emotional state. It takes the Ruach to be able to open our hearts to understand, to open our eyes to see, to open our ears to hear. So if we operate in this strictly physical state of emotions, then we are basically along the same line as the animals, the beasts of the field, behemah. Behemah is a word that means a dumb, mute animal that stands on four legs. We said four represents what? Spiritual poverty, an inability to hear and an inability to speak. Nothing personal, Zorro.
Yes. No, tell me.
You're a dog. You're actually smart. So.
No.
Okay? So, taking all this in mind, we take a look at Bereshit 1:2 that says, "Now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Elohim hovered over the face of the waters." But just because he hovers over the face of the waters doesn't mean that he descends into it to make a change. Something has to happen in order for it to change. The earth was unformed and void, and darkness upon the deep is our state if we operate in strictly on an emotional, physical level. Some people operate that way. Some people go through their lives operating that way. It takes something to bring us up and to bring us to a different level to where we can operate where we should be operating in both. And we see this in verse 11 of Shemot, and we compare this to Bereshit 1:3 that says, "And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light." Okay, we said the word Aron for ark in this case. It's the same gematria as Urim, which means lights. The idea to gather light. So let us be into a position or a condition where we can gather light into our heart and allow that to cover our emotional state to where we're not just physical now, but now we're also spiritual. And we get this in the next verse. This is why it's so important in the Ve'achavta to love Yahuwah with all of your heart is the first thing, because the heart is going to affect the mind. The mind is going to affect the strength. If you're depressed, worn out, wigged out, stressed out in your brain, your body doesn't function. Okay, so our spiritual state has to be right. Otherwise, our emotions make us sick. So we look at this next verse that says, "And you shall overlay it with pure gold, within and without shall you overlay it, and shall make upon it a crown of gold round about." So if we consider the condition of the carnal heart, what happens when the splendor of Yehovah Elohim that was once within and without Adam, but removed after the transgression, is once again allowed to overlay the heart? What happens when we go back to the pre-transgression condition? You say, well, that's not until the world to come. We can't be in that pre-transgression state until the world to come. But the fact is that, yes, we can. We can be in the same state that Adam was in prior to his transgression. We have all the tools that we need to be able to allow us to do that. So we get, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Bespitz means "and shall cover." To overlay. To overlay is safa. It means to cover or to coat. So to cover or to coat with something. The word zahab is gold, but other than meaning the precious metal, it also means splendor. So what is being covered over this shittim wood? If we say that shittim represents the emotional carnal heart, we're saying now that the splendor of Elohim is now overlaying this. Okay? The word for pure is tahor. Now tahor is the same word used for clean. Means to make something sound or clean, ceremonially, ethically, morally, as well as physically. The same word that is used to describe clean and unclean animals is tahor. So what we put into our mouths, or what we put into our bodies, so to speak, what we bring into our Mishkan, we need to bring stuff into the Mishkan that's pure, that's ceremonially pure, that's ethically, morally pure. We need to feed ourselves on the right kind of things. But within the word mi'ibet, which means inside, it means a house or a tabernacle. So we can start to formulate an idea that as the heart is the house for something, but it has to be clean in order to house it. Okay? The heart has to be clean in order to house what Elohim is willing to put in it, in order for us to go back to the state that we can be in that state of Adam, where we are complete within Elohim, operating fully as Ish and Isha combined. Have I lost everybody?
I'm trying.
I'm trying.
Where are we operating in Ish and Isha?
We're in the middle.
In the middle of our.
There we go. So, unihutz means without.
That was the only line.
So, physically, spiritually, both physical and spiritual begin to change. Okay? The physical begins to get overlaid with this splendor to where these start to come together and we become the totally physical beings that we were created to be, but at the same time, what was in that watermelon? At the same time, we're the spiritual beings that we are meant to be, and we can connect with our Elohim. Now, does this mean some, religious, holy thing that is only supposed to happen in church? This is actually something that takes us into every aspect of our life. That instead of reacting to a situation with the carnal mind and exploding, that we're actually able to be calm about it, control it, understand it, because the emotions have got us upset. But now we're overlaid with the spirit of Elohim that is what? Is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So that the emotions aren't acting by themselves. Now we have knowledge, we have wisdom, and we have understanding. Knowledge and wisdom go hand in hand in that they are quiet. Understanding is what allows us to speak forth. But we no longer speak forth out of anger, frustration, out of love. We do stupid things out of love. We do stupid things out of compassion, just as what we said earlier. We do stupid things out of anger.
Mm-hmm.
So we have in this whole thing an idea that the physical is covered by the spiritual, and it starts to work its way in. And the word for crown in this case is zer. The Proto-Hebrew of zer means to blow the chaff away from the grain, means to clean. So those things that keep us bound are cleansed away as we come together again, as the spiritual and the physical come together, that we begin to walk, but we begin to walk in a clean state. The chaff is cleaned away, and this glory fully envelops us. The splendor fully envelops us. And we have kind of an idea of this in Psalm 119, 25 through 32. It says, and it starts, oddly enough, with Dalet. My soul cleaves unto the dust. Quicken me according to your word. This is recognizing spiritual poverty and seeking the door that is the word. I told of my ways, and you did answer me. Teach me your statutes. It's making teshuvah. Make me to understand the way of your precepts, that I may talk of your wondrous works. Okay? To understand. It's the Shema. If we take the Shema, we take the Ayin in Shema and the Dalet in Echad are both enlarged in Torah. We put those together, it spells out. It means witness. May I talk about your wondrous works. So we take his word forward to the world. We said Urim means what? To take in light, but to give out light. And if our heart is Aaron, it's the same gematria as the Urim, then we are storing light within our emotion. And then the love that we send out is not a carnal type love, but now is a spiritual love that we are able to help people in the right way because we're based the way we should be. We're made the way we should be. My soul melts away for heaviness. Sustain me according to your word. Recognize the need to have a relationship with Yahuwah through his word. Remove from me the way of falsehood and grant me your Torah graciously. We seek truth in the instruction of Yahuwah. I have chosen the way of faithfulness. Your ordinance have I set before me. This is to believe. I cleave to your testimonies. Yahuwah, put me not to shame. I cleave to them. I receive them. And then finally it says, I will run the way of your commandments, for you do what? Enlarge my heart. What's he doing when he enlarges the heart? That spiritual side of us is overlaying that carnal side, so that we are not Behemah, but now we are above Behemah, we are Adam. The splendor of Yahuwah overlays it within and without. So we are physical, spiritual beings by creation. We become carnal beings through transgression. The splendor of Elohim that covered us in the garden was removed and exchanged for garments of dead animals as humankind was expelled from Eden. Humankind became so wicked in its carnality that all but 8 persons were destroyed in the flood. Elohim taught Noah, who taught Abraham, who taught his sons, who taught their sons. But regardless, they again ended up in bondage because of disobedience. Elohim said to Jacob, stay in the land of Canaan. What did he do? He went to Egypt. This is our condition without the splendor of Elohim, the anointing of Yahuwah surrounding and infilling us. We make decisions based only on carnal instinct or emotion. Yahuwah Elohim gave Moses the Torah to give to the people that they may become the children of Israel. He gave to the people. The Torah is given to our darkened perception so that we can change and establish in our lives that Elohim prevails. Okay? That they would become established and that Elohim would prevail in their lives. They rebelled again and again. We read Joshua. Elohim tells them, don't make any covenants. What do? They make covenants. We read in Judges. They keep doing it. Judge has to raise up, save them, take them out of it. Again and again and again. Until eventually they end up in captivity. So this is our state when we allow the carnal mind and spiritual poverty to rule our lives instead of becoming the home to the spirit of Elohim. In this psalm, we see that first we must come to a realization of our condition and then seek Elohim to change us. The psalm is Dalet. the letter that represents both spiritual poverty as well as the door that leads us out of it. In these verses, we see that if we are willing, Yahuwah Eloheinu will teach us, guide us, and ultimately, He will enlarge our hearts. The carnal heart of pure, unstable emotion will be overlaid, not overplayed, like it says, overlaid, with the pure gold of His splendor. The chaff removed, and being in a cleansed state, we are again surrounded and filled by the splendor of our Elohim. Now, the next several verses here deal with the covering of the ark, and we're going to save those for the next time that we talk about the ark. And it'll probably be when we get to Shemot 25 in about 5 more years. Will.
Which part are we gonna say?
These next few verses that talk about the cherubim of
Okay.
beaten gold.
The last part of this lesson, okay.
You know, something to keep in mind though, out of these verses is that in 21 it says that He's going to do what? He's going to put the testimony inside the ark. In other words, the Word is placed within our hearts, and that with the Word placed within our hearts, what happens? It says, "And there will I meet with you, and I will speak to you from above the ark, between the 2 cherubim." If we have the Word within us, if we have the anointing of Yahuwah dwelling within us and around us, if we are in Mashiach, if Mashiach dwells in us, then it's through Mashiach and the Word that the Ruach, the one-of-a-kind distinctive spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh of Elohim, can deal with us, communicate with us. This is what connects us. Okay? This is why it's so important that we love Him with all of our heart, first and foremost, and then everything else. Now, any questions on that mess? Stuff? Other
Yeah.
than, yeah,
Are
I
we
got
gonna talk in the next half about what chaff is, or what chaff is?
chaff. Chaff is the stuff that makes the grain dirty. It's like the husk that you can't eat.
In the grain, I know exactly what it is there. So, in us.
Yeah, in us. He's making us clean. He's bringing out the bread in us, so to speak. But this next little thing is kind of a short thing that kind of goes along with this. Somebody had asked me to do something about garments, and I said, well, you know, while we're talking about the heart and the emotions and having to have the heart overlaid with the splendor of Elohim to keep us in line, let's consider our garments as well, the garments of the soul. And there's a book called the Tanya, written by Rabbi Shneur Zalzman back in the 18th century, that says that we have 3 garments that we wear, and they affect the very condition of our spiritual well-being. They affect our soul. These 3 garments are thought, speech, and deed. And these correspond with the 2 attributes of the soul, which are thoughts and emotions. And we just talked about that, thoughts and emotions. That we have what we know, we have what we understand, but we also have the way we feel. And if those 2 aren't in line, then we have a problem. We are what we think and feel. Our actions are based on this. When we consider these 3 garments, we can understand that it is up to us which garment we put on. For example, in deeds, we can choose to do or not to do, to love or not to love, to be kind or not to be kind. In speech, we can speak or choose not to speak, or we can choose to speak forth blessings, as in positive things, the positive things that we say, or we can speak forth curses in the negative things that we say. We don't ever really pick up on how serious that is. When we speak forth a negative thing, we are literally speaking forth a curse. And if we are going to get out of that curse, we need to catch ourselves, break that curse, and we have to break that curse in the name of Yeshua. Why do we have to break that curse in the name of